Welcome to the training session, Get Started with ArcMap. During this training session, we'll map the impact of roads on deforestation in the Amazon rainforest. So a little background. The Amazon rainforest spans 9 countries and millions of square kilometers. Due to deforestation, current estimates indicate only about 80% of the original rainforest remains. Now in this lesson, you'll use ArcMap to create a map of deforestation in the Brazilian state of Rondônia. Then, you'll predict how much deforestation would be caused by a new road proposed to be built across the state. Your workflow requires a wide variety of data, feature editing, and analytical tools. Now for this lesson, you'll have 2 requirements. Of course, we'll need ArcMap Advanced installed on your system, as well as access to the training database named Brazil.gdb. This will be our method to share the training files, layers, with you for use during this lesson. Now this is part of a 3-block lesson plan. This being the first block, the exploration of the study area. Follow-on blocks, block 2, will compare the roads and deforestation, and block 3 will predict the impact of the proposed road. So to start block 1, we'll begin by exploring the study area. First, you'll need to start a new map in ArcMap and locate your study area of Rondônia, a Brazilian state in the Amazon rainforest. Then, you'll add layers and visually examine satellite imagery to become familiar with the geography. So our first part in block 1 is to find the study area. You'll start a new map, become familiar with ArcMap's user interface, and find the project's study area. So our first step is to start ArcMap. Now you can get to it multiple ways. However, what we're doing is going through our Start menu, finding ArcGIS, and selecting ArcMap. Now as you do that, you'll receive this pop-up. For this project, we will select a blank map. Once blank map is selected, click OK. Now a blank map opens. Above the map are toolbars. That's listed here where my cursor is. Now to the left of the map is the table of contents, which shows the geographic content of your map. Like the map, the table of contents is empty. Now of note, if you've used ArcMap before, your interface may be arranged a little differently. Now next we'll find the study area for this project, Rondônia, Brazil. Rondônia is located in the Amazon rainforest, so adding a layer of the Amazon is a good start. You'll add a layer from a Geodatabase that we've prepared for this training. Now, if you're following along in the Getting Started with ArcMap training handout, we're going to take a minor deviation. So first we're going to start off by mapping this Geodatabase as our default workspace. So to do that, we're going to open our catalog, following along on screen here. We'll left click that and we'll see that on the right hand side of the screen, another window pops up with essentially everything that we have access to. Now, my Brazil Geodatabase is located on my desktop. So we'll navigate to my desktop. But as you see, it's not listed here. Now I have a subfolder on my desktop listed, but not the actual desktop itself. So we'll go ahead and map that now by clicking the Connect to Folder button. So from here we see a series of options popping up, but what I'll do is map directly to my desktop where I have the Brazil Geodatabase stored. Now, this may be in different locations on your computer, but it's a very similar process regardless of where it's stored. Once we've selected where we want to map to, we'll click OK. And you'll see on the catalog window under folder connections, a new connection has been made to my desktop. So now from here, we'll navigate and select the Brazil Geodatabase and right click and select make this the default geodatabase for this file. Once that is done, you'll see that a little home icon has popped up on the database or on the database icon itself. This denotes that this is now our default connection. So once this is accomplished, you can click catalog, or you can click the X, in the upper right hand catalog, and the catalog window will disappear. So now we're ready to start adding data. So on the standard toolbar, we'll want to click the arrow next to the Add Data button, this icon here, and choose Add Data. Again, since we've mapped the Brazil Geodatabase as our default geodatabase, it will pop up automatically. So since we're in the Brazil Geodatabase, we want to add the Amazon ecoregion layer. So we've titled this Brazil _ Amazon _ ecoregion. Once you have this selected, click Add. Now the layer appears on the map as a large colored shape. These are the boundaries of the Amazon ecoregion, but it's not clear where in the world the boundaries are located. So next, we'll add a base map layer. Now a base map depicts the background reference for information such as landforms and political boundaries. It can help show your data's location in the context of the overall world. So going back to the standard toolbar, we'll once again click the Add Data button. Now inside of our training geodatabase, select the Brazil _ colorized _ terrain _ 50m or 50 meters and click Add. So this imagery layer is added to the map and the table of contents on the left. It uses satellite imagery as a reference for information. And as we zoom out, we can see that this satellite imagery has largely been focused, or really the colorized satellite imagery has been focused on centering on Brazil, but also expands to other parts of South America. Now, going back to the table of contents, we can turn on and off the Brazil Amazon ecoregion using the checkbox in the table of contents. So as we can see, as we turn it off, we have a deep green colored region which represents the Amazon's location in South America. It is much greener than the area outside, as most of the Amazon rainforest is dominated by dense tree canopy. However, despite this, we still don't have enough data to find Rondônia on the map. So we'll add another layer showing the states of Brazil. So again, going back to the standard toolbar, we'll again add data. Once the Brazil Geodatabase, the training database, pops up, what we'll do is we'll navigate to Brazil states and add the layer. Now the layer appears on top of the Amazon ecoregion layer. I'll go ahead and turn that back on. However, some of the layer extends beyond the current map extent or zoom level. Now, to see the whole layer, keep zooming in and out until it's centered on your screen and you can see the entire layer projected on the map. Also, you could do this through scrolling as I just did, or you can use in the upper left hand on our navigation toolbar the magnifying glass with the plus or magnifying glass with the minus icons. Now this allows you to actually select a region and it'll make the map extent zoomed in far enough to cover that region you selected. Alternatively, you can do the same thing with zoom out, in which it'll zoom out so it gets the entire extent selected as well. Other methods, so we have the pan tool, which is that hand icon. We have the globe, which zooms out to the full extent of the map. We won't do that because that'll zoom us out even further. but also you have a fixed zoom in and a fixed zoom out. So let's zoom back in using this fixed zoom in. So using this, each time we click, it zooms in at a fixed rate centered on the center point of the map displayed. So this is a pretty good view. It allows us to see the Amazon ecoregion as well as the Brazilian states. Now, next, on the tools bar, we'll explain the identify feature. So go ahead, click on the blue circle with an eye listed in the center of it. Let's find the name of any given Brazilian state. So let's click on this center one here, and we can see that the identify window pops up. Now the identify dialog box shows the attribute data or information for the feature you clicked. Now you can identify states essentially clicking on each state until you find Rondônia. Now if we were lucky, it may have been the state you initially clicked, but we can also use a quicker method to find a feature with a specific attribute. So let's close out the identify box and navigate a few icons to the right to find. The find icon is the magnifying glass. So let's click on that. So with the find window, dragging it to the center here, we'll see that this box pops up. Now, to find the Brazilian state of Rondônia, what we'll do is we will type it into the find box here and click find. Now what we'll see is once we hit find, it searches all of the visible layers inside the extent. So we see three values inside of the Brazil states layer, but what we're looking for is the first one. So as we click on the first value, we can see that it highlights the Brazilian state of Rondônia as well as providing it inside of a crosshair. Now let's right click on that value, that first value, and we have a few options, but let's use the zoom to. And what it will do is it will zoom to the Brazilian state of Rondônia and center it in our map extent. Now that we have found the Brazilian state of Rondônia, we can now close out our find box. Next, we'll work on organizing and symbolizing our data. So currently we can't see the base map under the Brazilian states layer. So what we'll do is we'll organize the layers in the table of contents and change their layer symbology to better see the layers. So navigating back to our table of contents, we'll locate our Brazil states layer and click the symbol for the Brazilian states layer. You can do this by double clicking the purple box or whatever color it is on your system. So the symbol selector dialog box opens and it includes a preset list of symbols and some symbology options. So what we'll do is we'll give the Brazilian states layer a symbol with only an outline. So let's choose fill color, no color. Let's change our outline width to 1.5 and change the color to Arctic white. Now you can see as you hover over these colors, it gives names to the colors. So let's just click Arctic white and click OK. So what we can see here now is as we turn off our Brazilian ecoregion, we can see that the Brazilian states do not have a fill and they have the white outline just as we determined inside of the symbology. So let's turn back on the Brazilian ecoregion and do the same thing for it. So for the Brazilian ecoregion, what we'll do is we will change the color similarly to the Brazilian states, but let's choose a color that stands out. So for fill color, we'll select no color. And for outline width, we'll go with 1.5. Oh, I pressed enter too soon there. So let's go back and then inside of the outline color, let's choose flame red, which should provide good contrast to our Brazilian states layer as well as our colorized terrain layer. So what we'll see now on the map is we have our Brazilian state outlines listed in white, and we have our Brazilian ecoregion layer, which has this flame red outline at the bottom of the map. As we're zoomed in to the state of Rondônia, inside of the Amazon ecoregion layer, we can see, albeit somewhat pixelated, that in contrast to the overall Amazon ecoregion, which is stylized in that deep green, representing the dense canopy inside of the region, that when we're looking inside the state of Rondônia, so it has that similar green outline around its periphery, but in the center we see that grayish tan color representing some level of deforestation. Deforestation in the Amazon occurs for extractive purposes, such as acquiring lumber, and a lot of deforestation clears the land for cattle grazing or agriculture. Now that we've identified the Brazilian state of Rondônia and given a quick overview of what we suspect is the terrain, we'll add and symbolize the cities layer to the map. So with this study area, we'll add a layer showing the cities in Rondônia and symbolize it to show the largest cities by population. So on the standard toolbar, we'll click the arrow next to the Add Data button again, taking us back to our training database, or our training geodatabase. And in there, what we'll do is we'll navigate to the Brazil populated places and add it to the map. So what we'll see is this layer adds above the other layers. Now it contains points, each representing a city in Brazil. Now some of the cities, as we see, are located in that deforested area we just identified moments earlier. So let's locate the cities layer in the table of contents. And our cities layer is named Brazil Populated Places. What we're going to do is we're going to explore some of this data. So on the Brazil Populated Places layer, right-click and click Open Attribute Table. So once we right-click and open the attribute table, the following table appears. In the attribute table, you can see that the attributes are organized into columns or fields, and features are organized into rows. The fields give the name of each city, its population, its latitude, and its longitude, among other aspects of each feature. The object ID and shape fields are managed by the software. Now we can close the attribute table. Next, we're going to symbolize the cities by a single colored point. Or rather, right now they're represented by a single colored point, which is okay, but it would be more intuitive if the cities were symbolized size with larger symbols indicating larger populations. In the table of contents, right-click on the cities layer and choose Properties. Now the Layer Properties dialog box opens. This dialog box includes more symbology options than the symbol selector that we used earlier. It may not pop up, the Layer Properties may not pop up on the actual symbology tab. However, to navigate there, click on the actual tab at the top named Symbology. Then once we get into the Symbology tab, we'll click the Quantities, then Graduated Symbols subfield. The symbols are set by quantities, which classifies the attribute values into numeric ranges and gives each range a unique symbol. Currently, the symbols have graduated colors, but they can be given graduated symbol sizes as well. So let's base this off of our population maximum, which now we can see that it started to give a range to each of the symbols based off of their size. Now over in the template, what we'll do is we'll change the color to make it a little more visible, pop more on the map. So click the template button, and then from here we'll go down to circle 2. What this does is it allows us to set an outline color as well as an inside color. Now we'll stick with the outline color of black, but we'll change the interior color again to Arctic white. Once you've done that, click OK, then hit Apply. Well, now looking at the map, we can see that it's still very small circles. So To make it to pop more, what we'll do is we'll change the symbol size from 4 to 18 to 10 to 30. And you can play with these values as you click apply to be able to display the circles better on the map. However, with this resolution, with this extent on the map, we can see that a symbol size from 10 to 30 gives us circles large enough to work with, to visualize easily. But again, based off your display, if you need them larger, feel free to change the symbol size. Click OK. We have placed the cities on the map. Now on the map, you'll see that the largest cities tend to be in the middle of the deforested area, as we'll see here with the cursor. Although they may range in the distribution from north to south. Now, smaller cities tend to be closer to the edge of the area of deforestation. Now that we've done an increasing amount of analysis, what we'll do is we'll change the name to a more recognizable name in the table of contents. So go to the table of contents on the left-hand side of the screen, click on Pop Max, and then what we'll do is we'll change it. Let's pick a more recognizable name of population. Also at this time, if you would like, you could change this layer in the table of contents to cities. And what this does is, if we produce a legend when we go to finish the map, it'll change those names from what they were previously, Brazil populated places and max population. It'll change it to a more recognizable name in the legend. Next, what we'll do is we'll add and symbolize the road layer. So on the standard toolbar, let's once again add data. Once we're back in our training database, what we'll do is we'll add the Redonia roads layer. So let's search for that. And in my training database, it's the second to last. In yours, it may be the last layer to add. So once you've found it and highlighted it, click Add. Now, when you add a layer from your computer, it has a random default symbology, like we saw with the cities layer. Now, your symbology may vary from the example images you're seeing in the training packet or on this video. Although the lines should be the same, they may be colored slightly different. As we can see from the screen, the roads layer contains a dense network of roads that covers most of the state. Now, this layer, because of how it was trimmed, doesn't extend past Redonia and largely stays in the south inside of that Amazon ecoregion. In the table of contents, let's take a look at the attribute table of the Redonia roads. So by doing that, let's highlight it, right-click, and then left-click on Open Attribute Table. So among the fields are name and status. Status shows whether a road is official or unofficial. Unofficial roads do not have names, although official roads more than likely do. The number at the bottom of the table here represents the total number of features. So we know in this attribute table there are over 27,000 features in this layer. The number to the left of that is how many of that 27,000 do we have selected. So right now it's 0. However, as we drag and highlight, let's do 10, we see that we have selected 10 out of 27,000. But we don't necessarily want to select those at this point in time. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and clear that selection. So now that we've explored the attribute table, taking a look at the metadata of these features, let's close the attribute table. Now what we want to do is generate a selection based off of one of those features that we saw in the attribute table. So what we'll do is we'll go up to Selection and Select by Attributes. Now, because cities is listed in the top of our table of contents, it appears as the selected layer. However, again, we want to select out roads. So let's navigate to the Redonia roads and left-click that. Once we've selected the layer, we have a couple of options inside of this Select by Attributes pop-up window. So we have the method, basically what we want to do with this selection. So this is a very varying amount of features. Now what we want to do is create a new selection. So what this does is it selects a new group of features, vice the other options which would add to, take away. So what we want to do, click create a new selection, and then we'll start to build our filtering query down in this box here by selecting the various options inside of the pop-up window. So what we're trying to do is select a series of official roads. So what we're going to do is we're going to double click our status. Now as we do that, that pops up down in the query menu. And then we want our status to equal, or we want essentially define the official road. So what we'll do is we'll say our status is equal to, and then what we'll do with status highlighted up in the upper box, we'll click get unique values. So what this does is looks at all of the different features under the status column, if you're thinking of the attribute table, and classifies those or categorizes those based off of what is present in the column. So across all 27,000 of the features, we have 3 categories: official, under assessment, and unofficial. So what we want to do is double click on official, and then we see down in the query box that our formulation is we want to select from Redonia roads where the status equals official. A few times, you may run into errors when you click OK. So what is a good practice is to verify the equation once you have created it. And what we can see now is we verified it, and what ArcGIS does is it makes sure that there is no errors in the syntax of the expression. So it gives us this pop-up dialog that the expression was successfully verified. So great. So what we want to do now is click apply. And what we can see on the map at this point is we have a highlighted region of all of the official roads inside of Redonia. So what it's doing is out of those 27,000 features, it went through and selected all of the official roads inside of the state. Now that we have our selection of official roads, let's go ahead and click OK to close the pop-up. But you'll see that the highlight based off of that selection expression remains. So what we'll do is we want to create a separate layer of official roads. So what we'll do is in the table of contents, go to Redonia Roads, right-click, navigate down to Selection, and then you'll see another pop-up window goes to the right, and we'll go down to Create a Layer from the selected features. So what this will do is it'll create a new layer based off of the selected features inside of the Redonia Roads. So let's turn off the original Redonia Roads layer, and now you can see that this layer shows only the selected roads, or only the official roads, inside of Redonia. But as we turn back on Redonia Roads, we see that, and let's go ahead and clear our selection. My apologies. Let's go up to the table of contents, click clear selected features. Well, again, because this randomly stylizes the roads, it may not be as apparent. So let's make those roads, those official roads, pop inside of the Redonia Roads selection. So let's double click on that icon. Let's scroll to arterial streets. And let's make this color raw umber. And increase the size. Once you have it stylized similarly, you can click OK. But even still, as you look at the map, it looks very similar to our Amazon ecoregion boundaries. So although this feature set, we've stylized it once, it's still not necessarily popping per se on the map. It doesn't display well. So let's go back in and let's choose something else. Let's choose our freeway. Let's make it just a little bit bigger to width 6, and then once again change it to raw umber. So now that black boundary, what it does is it separates, it's further from the roads that it's, or from the layer underneath it, the other roads for Redonia, both official, unofficial, as well as it separates it from the Amazon ecoregion. So this looks like a great way to stylize this. So now that we've stylized it to an acceptable level, let's go back up to our table of contents and let's change the name. Let's change the name to meet essentially what we built in our expression of official roads. And then once you're done with that, click enter, and now you can see that it's renamed. Now we can see that the difference between official and unofficial roads is clear. Now unfortunately, the unofficial roads still clutter the map. Because the official and unofficial roads are now in separate layers, we can go ahead and turn off the remainder of the roads by unselecting Redonia roads inside of the table of contents. And of course, you can turn this layer back on at any time by simply checking the box again. But for now, we'll just leave it off. Next, because we've made progress on this map, we'll go ahead and save it. So on the standard toolbar, you can click the Save button for the first time, which opens up the Save As dialog, or you can go to File, Save, or Save As, and you can select and name this map. Now, this takes it to a default location, but what I want to do is save it onto my desktop where my Brazil Geodatabase, my training database, is located. And let's call this map Amazon Deforestation. Now, of note, you can save this wherever you would like. I'm just saving this because it's most convenient for this training session. And then once you save that, what it'll do is it'll create the map document, which is saved with the extension of .mxd. This is the standard extension for ArcMap map documents. So great, you've started a new map and added boundary layers to locate your study area. You've added layers of infrastructure that'll be important for analysis and general map information. Now in the next training block, we'll take a closer look at the relationship between deforestation and the roads to find a pattern that you can apply to the proposed road.